Now, switching over to the PDC, and we saw the 2023 Pro Tour season get underway at the weekend. We had the first two Players' Championships of the year in Barnsley. Ryan Searle winning Saturday's event 8-4 against Jamie Hughes in the final. And on Sunday, Danny Noppert picking up the title, an 8-3 win in the final against Simon Whitlock. But looking back at the Pro Tour weekend, along with those two who won the titles, who else caught the eye?
Yeah, there's quite a few people who did. And we'll start with one of the beating finalists, Jamie Hughes. We talked a little bit about Jamie Hughes. We talked maybe a bit derisively after his horror of a first round of the World Championships. But we did talk a little bit about him the last couple of years, mentioning that he'd been battling injuries. And after winning in Prague in his first year on the Pro Tour, getting to the World Match Play as a result, getting to the World Grand Prix, and even though he didn't win another title after that, he still kept playing at a high level and he moved into the top 32. He started battling injuries and really tumbled down the rankings and struggled to qualify for the World Championships even. But now that it seems like he's healthy, boy, is he back playing well. And he made a final on the first day. Along the way, he beat Joe Cullen. He beat Chris Dobie, the last two Masters champions. He beat the world number one, Michael Smith. And he beat another player who I'll come to in a second along the route. And then he followed it up with a last 16. Just a really good start to the season. And okay, he didn't kick on Monday at the Euro Tour qualifiers. He didn't win through either of those. And that will be a disappointment because there's a lot of money to be made from those Euro Tours. But a final and a last 16, especially for a player who was only just getting to the World Championships a couple months ago, had one of the worst performances at the World Championships, will give him a lot of confidence and a boost heading into what is a critical year for him to make sure he stays on the tour and starts moving back up towards that top 32 again, because he is probably, when healthy, one of the 32 best players in the world. The question mark is he healthy? I'll also mention, though, one of those other players he beat, Callan Ritz, a pair of quarterfinals. We talked to Callan Ritz's manager near the end of last year, and he thought that maybe, that pressure of building off of what was a phenomenal 2021 may have got into Callan a little bit, and he didn't handle it as well as Callan would have wanted to, but he was starting to find his game at the back end of the year, and it showed because he had that pair of quarterfinals. He went out to Jamie Hughes on the Saturday. That's not a bad loss to have. He only made the final. And he went out to Danny Noppert on the Sunday. That's not a bad loss to have. He only went on and won the title. Like Hughes didn't kick on Monday at the Euro Tour qualifiers, and again, that's big because of the prize money on store at the Euro Tour, but a pair of quarterfinals. He was doing them for fun 2 years ago. Maybe he's back doing that again, and again gives him something to build. And I'll mention a few other names. Raymond van Barneveld went out on the last 64 the first day, but followed it up with a last 16 on the Sunday, going out to Simon Whitlock, the eventual runner-up, and he followed it up with a pair of qualifications on Monday. Bradley Brooks as well, a last 16 on the Saturday, went out to Rob Cross on the Sunday. Didn't play his best, but again, a pair of double qualifications. And now that Bradley Brooks is back on the tour, that's a great start to the year to be in both those Euro Tours. Also mentioned Richard Veenstra, last 32 on the Saturday, but a quarterfinal in his second PDC Pro Tour event on the Sunday before going up to the runner-up, Simon Whitlock. And he followed that up by winning through the first qualifier to the Euro Tour on Monday. And finally, Vladimir Anderson only won 2,000 pounds last year. He's already matched that this year with even though that's only 3 wins, a board final on a last 64. Again, that matches what he did last year, and it only took him 2 events to do it, but couldn't surpass it on Monday, did not qualify for either Euro Tour.
Yeah, some great picks there, and the 2 winners, they definitely deserve some plaudits. Ryan Searle, the winner on Saturday, 4 titles for him, 1 in each of the last 4 years. And I wonder, by the time we get to the end of this year, how many players are going to be able to say that they've won a senior PDC title 4 years running. I'd imagine it'd be around a dozen or so. So he's in that list of players. Danny Noppert, also a 4th title for him, and he won his first in 2018. Then he waited 4 years to get his second at the UK Open, and that's now 3 in the last 12 months for him. And the 2 players that lost in the finals, you mentioned them, and for Jamie Hughes, a first final since 2019, and someone that I've said for a long time, he's got so much talent, and perhaps now he's had that drop down in the rankings we are going to see him maybe be more of an underrated player. Started the season down in 56th in the rankings. He's now up to number 51, but he's still a much better player than that. And the run to the final on Saturday, it has put him into the spots for the match play. And I know it's still a very long way off at the moment, but you go back to 2019, 2020, he was almost in all of the TV ranking events, 6 out of 7 every year for those 2 years before dropping off. And it's well documented the injury problems that he had, having surgery, and it's taken him a while to get back. But the last time we saw him was at Ali Pali, a game which I'm sure he's tried to erase from his memory as quickly as possible, averaging under 80 and going out in the first round. But he has had a lot of time to dwell on that, because from the World Championship to these first lot of Pro Tours, it is a big break, but seems to be moving in the right direction now. And Sunday's beaten finalist Simon Whitlock, he wouldn't have ended a trophy drought as long as Jamie Hughes is, because we've seen Simon is a reigning World Cup champion, but as far as floor events, he's not had a run like this in a Players' Championship for a while. Going back to 2017 was his last final, and when you're outside the Pro Tour top 16, you're only qualifying for 4 out of the 13 Euro Tours like he did last year, then you do need that floor form and results to be better. And we saw last year him drop out of the top 32. He was unseeded at Ali Pali, and a lot of that was down to missing some of these big events, because you go back to 2020, he had a great year getting to the quarterfinals of the match play, semi-finals of the Grand Prix, and another deep run in the Grand Slam, but he only made the Grand Slam out of those 3 events. But a good start to the year for him, getting to a final. And you mentioned some of the new tour card holders, Richard Veenstra. We finally get to see him with a tour card, and he has a deep run. Another of the new tour card holders, Dylan Slevin, who our colleague Matthew Kiernan spoke to on the show recently, getting to a semi-final in his first Players' Championship on Saturday. And just a couple others to give a mention to, and coming from the Euro Tour qualifiers on Monday, and they've moved from the Friday to the Monday. I don't think we've discussed that too much in detail, but it definitely helps Chris Dobey not having to play Premier League on Thursday, then the qualifiers on the Friday. But there was quite a few players that managed to win through both of the qualifiers, and one of them that I'll give a mention to is James Wade, because he's got the UK Open defence of his prize money from 2 years ago coming up very soon, and a player that we could see start to drop down the rankings, but getting into those Euro Tours, getting that stage experience, because he's not in the Premier League this year. Maybe that's going to be what helps him push forward this year and stop that slide down the rankings that could happen if he has another year like he did last year.